Human resource development is a core activity for most companies, not only for Toyota. The way I see it, though, is that Toyota has its own unique beliefs, philosophies, and common values. It is through our work that we pass these important assets on to the next generation. To the next generation. By looking back in our history, you will recognize that our predecessors synergized their wisdom in their work by working with people. I think that's because we had limited resources. At that time, we only had people. We have always valued people, trained people, and developed people. Once we hire someone, we are responsible for developing their talents and to work with them in a team environment for a long time. If the company had to let go of employees due to unfortunate business conditions, top management should be the first to resign. That's how deeply important the feeling of cultivating and taking care of people is to Toyota. This has been a kind of Toyota tradition. I think what makes people unique is our ability to think and to reason. So we need to foster our subordinates' ability to think through allocating challenging work assignments. I think we shouldn't assign work without letting people think. For example, if you order someone to move a thing from right to left without explaining its purpose, the person will not be able to use their ability to think. This way of assignment would mean that you are ignoring their human nature. It just makes sense that with any kind of work, you need to leave people some room to think and to let them create ideas on their own by using their imagination. I believe that thinking leads to Kaizen and changes the current situation for better. Letting people think for themselves is a way of showing respect. In the Toyota way, we call it respect for people. Of course, valuing people doesn't mean pampering them. It means training and developing them. This is done by providing people with challenges and helping them to grow through their work assignments. Their efforts form the basis for their growth and accomplishment. You have to realize that each person has a phenomenal amount of ability and wisdom. I think the most important point is to synergize their abilities and wisdom to accomplish good works as a team. I was once assigned to the Operation Management Consulting Division, where I made Kaizen operations, starting from the production line. I didn't know much about production lines or engineering because I was used to working in administrative jobs. My seniors took me to the production workplace and they pointed out problems and said something like, "That's waste. Take a good close look at it." That's how I started. In most cases, though, I couldn't tell why it was waste, even after my seniors pointed it out to me. I told them that it looked like an efficient way to do the work, and they responded, "If you just look at it from a different angle, you'd see why it's waste." My seniors pointed out the kind of waste that was involved in some of the work processes. After I had gotten used to it, they told me to go out and identify waste by myself. I walked around thinking as hard as I could about the things I have been taught and asked myself, is this a problem or not? When I found an actual problem, my seniors told me to fix it. So I gathered the people involved in the production line and we all discussed solutions to the problems and started making small changes such as layouts and the way tools were hung. By making these changes, a process that used to take 30 seconds could be reduced to 25 seconds. Movements became easier, so people didn't have to rush and get things done. I believe that motions and time are closely related. If we change a motion, the time to take will change as well. These are the kinds of things that my seniors helped me to experience. After doing this for a while, my senior showed me a place where work pieces were piled up between the processes of two staff members. It became clear that the first staff member was finishing the process faster than the second staff member, so the finished work pieces started stacking up. When you think about it, though, if the first staff member was able to finish so many work pieces that quickly, it meant that the work balance was not right. So we added a bit more work to the first staff member and took bits away from the second staff member's process. At some point, the entire workflow was streamlined to the extent that 10 people's work could now be accomplished by only 9 people. That represents a 10% increase in operating efficiency. I gradually obtained a broader perspective. My seniors first assigned me to go and look at the plant. Then they tell me to look at the whole company. I was sent to different suppliers who had financial problems. In the end, I had to make judgments by myself. I would be told to go to some company, figure out what the problems were, find the people I needed locally, and fix the problems. My seniors often told me not to come back until I had brought the companies back into healthy financial status. They didn't actually give me the answers, but they did teach me how to think every step along the way. As you can see, no matter where we work, we are dealing with the same principles to solve problems, but at different levels. Looking at each staff member's motion and finding waste and making an improvement is a problem solving at an individual level. In the same way, finding waste and making improvements or decision making on a company-wide level is also problem solving. When you get right down to it, there is something in common. You can take things you learn on the production workplace and change your perspective a bit to apply them to the company's management. You can see how the same things apply to administration and how they apply to engineering and so on. In this way, I've reached this point, but I could honestly never repay my seniors for everything they taught me. At one point, I asked them, "How can I show my gratitude?" They made it clear that it is now my turn to train and develop subordinates and others. I don't know how successful I've been, but this has always been my attitude. At least I want to pass on to others what I was given. This has been my guiding light for all these years. Toyota has its own unique beliefs, philosophies, and common values. It is through our work that we pass these important assets on to the next generation. I think this is extremely important to the company's consistent growth. With this in mind, I ask you to develop the next generation. Essentially, what you need to do is to assign work that's a little challenging to your subordinates. You need to set the bar a little higher than their current capabilities. Let them continue to meet these challenges over and over. Once they accomplish the work, give the next challenging assignment. I think it's important to keep raising the bar a little at a time. I also think that managers need to monitor subordinates on how they are doing and help them to follow through. If you assign work that's too difficult, things might not go so well. And when things don't go well, subordinates may think they have failed and may become discouraged. You want to figure out each subordinate's level of ability and place the bar a little bit higher than that.
まあ言ってみればチャレンジですよね。
When they are able to pass that point, they will definitely gain self-confidence and will want to try for the next challenge.
逆効果になってしまいますから、もうやっぱりここ
I think this process is extremely important.
その方がいいと思いますけどね。
When I think about the interaction between my supervisors and myself, I can say that the way my supervisors assigned me a job and helped me develop was very interesting. For example, one supervisor told me to investigate and make Kaizen in a particular production process because the staff's operation was very complicated. At first, I could not find a solution and could not do anything. My supervisor came back and became angry at me for doing nothing. So I did improve the situation through a lot of effort. My supervisor then came back and asked me if I had fixed the problem. So I said yes. My supervisor then asked me if I saw the improvement in the production line. I have to say that I didn't. Then my supervisor got angry again about the fact that I did not see the effect of my action. So I watched the production line again and I was satisfied with the effects I saw. 4 or 5 hours later, my supervisor came back and asked me, "What's going on?" I answered, "Everything is under control." He asked me, "Did you apply the Kaizen to the other lines?" I had to reply that I didn't. And he got angry again. He asked me why I didn't apply the Kaizen to the other production lines when there are similar lines right next to it. I was developed like this with thorough communications and interactions. I believe that supervisors or anyone who has subordinates always need to look after them and care for them. And when these subordinates face problems, supervisors have to help them see their subordinates' assignments through. That is one of the most important roles for supervisors. So supervisors need to tell their subordinates that they are ready to help whenever they get stuck. To do this, supervisors always need to study harder than their subordinates, I believe. In order to make Kaizen, you have to realize what is wrong, what the problem is. In the production workplace, it is called visual control, so that we can detect abnormalities or defects at a glance. This is the first step towards successful plant management. We have incorporated this approach into our administrative and engineering divisions as well, and have adapted it into their operational work procedures. Also, we are conceiving ideas that will allow everyone to see clearly whether these things are going well or not. At administrative and engineering workplaces, we call this visualization, rather than visual control. This is a way of making problems visible so anybody can identify them quickly and easily. Making them visible leads to Kaizen, but if you can't visualize them, you cannot come up with Kaizen ideas. I have met a lot of people, but I have never met a manager who clearly noticed that there was a problem but did nothing. So it is so important to make things visible in the workplace so that everyone will notice when a problem arises. Always make problems visible. This is a basic business practice in Toyota. The idea of Kaizen has been one of our most basic concepts for years, and over time this has greatly improved our work processes. We have been doing Kaizen not only in the production workplace, but also in office areas, such as administration and engineering. By doing it this way, our predecessors have added their wisdom, accumulated over time, to the work processes. At a production workplace, they are called standardized work. In the engineering area, it could be equivalent to instructions involving drawings and measures. They are like do's and don'ts that reflect lessons learned by our predecessors' past experiences. Therefore, the most basic point is that we should be aware of and follow the standards, as well as accumulated wisdom that our predecessors have formed. As often said, without standards, there is no Kaizen. Let me also say this, we have been doing our jobs based on standards since the beginning. As time goes by, however, some standards may not match our needs anymore, or we may need to make different products when our surrounding environment changes. This brings out the need for new Kaizen ideas. We have to continue Kaizen so that we don't fall behind. Simply speaking, you have to create new work methods integrating your wisdom to create new standards and hand them down to the next generation. If you do things one way today and a different way tomorrow, you will only make a mess, and there will be no Kaizen. Again, there is no Kaizen without standards, so you will need to establish appropriate work procedures and frameworks as important assets of your department or division. Our role is to establish and revise the standard procedures when the situations change. Having standard procedures is the first step to enhancing the workplace vitality in Toyota. I would like to express my expectations for all management at Toyota. I would like you to accomplish your work as a team by utilizing the power of teamwork and carrying it out through strong leadership. At the same time, I would like you to create a lively workplace environment and to especially focus on the development of your subordinates. In a sense, I believe your two major roles are to yield excellent work performance through teamwork and to enhance human resource development.